Thank you. We do have a quorum. This evening, I need a motion to approve the minutes of October 8th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Anything needing to be corrected? Not much to them. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. We have no new business this evening. We do have one information-only report for the Transportation Division Monthly Report. Any questions or comments on that?
I have a question.
Yes, Trustee Stanton.
Route 610, ridership is pretty much down from the earlier years. Do we have a reason for that?
610 serves Sears corporate headquarters, so I think some of the changes over there may have had an effect on the 610 service.
That would make
That
sense.
would make sense. Okay. Any other questions? Anything staff wishes to highlight?
Nothing else?
Okay, that report is to be accepted and filed only. President's report.
That was quick.
Yeah?
We
Nothing
have
there.
a couple of upcoming events on Thursday, November 15th. The Heavenly Brew Fest is taking place at the, it's put on by the Shop with the Cop Committee. It's happening this Thursday at the Chicago Marriott Northwest from 6 to 9. Each year, the committee organizes events to raise money used to take kids in need of Christmas gifts for themselves and their families. Families that need your help are identified through police interactions, school counselors, and supporting agencies. But each year, the number of kids that need your help grows larger. Tickets are only $30 and can be purchased at www.heavenlybrewfest.com. Friday the 16th is the Commission for Senior Citizens Annual Harvest Luncheon held at the Stone Gate. The doors open 11:30. The event features traditional Thanksgiving fare, live entertainment, and complimentary valet parking. For tickets, call Sue Lesson at 847-781-2606. And on Saturday, the 17th, we have a friendship tree lighting ceremony. It will be held at the Village Hall here November 17th at 5 p.m. in front of the main entrance of the Village Hall. This free family event fills up quickly, so plan to arrive early for a great spot. Join the Celebrations Commission for fireworks, live entertainment, and light refreshments, as well as a special visitor for the children. I'm not the special visitor. This week, we had Wednesday attended the Children's Advocacy Center Leadership Board meeting, along with my wife Joni. We both serve on that. And on in the afternoon, I did a presentation before third graders at John Muir School. That's always fun because kids don't have the filters that adults do, and they'll ask you all kinds of questions, so you never quite know what you're going to get asked. And then that evening, I attended a Cub Scout PAC meeting for folks working on their citizenship badges, and it was my son's PAC, so that was nice. But it was in Huntley, Illinois. That was a road trip. But it was great fun. And on the 8th, Thursday night, we had the 4th of July Commission, followed by the Capital Improvements Board meeting, which was also very, very interesting. It always is, ably chaired by Trustee Palafis. On Friday the 9th, I want to thank the board for going to the St. Hubert School Veterans Day Assembly. I was not able to go, and also to Harry Russman's retirement celebration at the police building. And on Sunday, November 11th, we had a very moving Veterans Day ceremony in front of our police building. It was very well attended. There was a lot of people there. And this morning, there was a Veterans Day assembly at Hoffman Estates High School that Trustee Palafis and I spoke at. And it was a great event. The kids were really engaged and listening, and I think they were very impressed with Trustee Palafis's remarks. I know I was. He did a great job. And I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Is there anything else to come before this committee this evening? We do have one item in review, but that does not come up until May 20, 2019. That's the discussion of parking permit program in the Washington Boulevard and Alcoa Lane area. Seeing nothing else, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned, and thank you.
I'd like to call to order the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates on this November 12th, 2018. May we have a roll call, please?
Chairman Stanton,
Present.
Vice Chairman Arnett,
Present.
Trustee Mills,
Present.
Trustee Newell,
Present.
Trustee Palafis,
Present.
Trustee Gata,
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
Thank you. Looking for approval of the minutes of October 8th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that they think should be made? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And also looking for approval of the minutes of November 5th of 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Anybody notice any corrections or deletions that need to be made in those minutes? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. New business. We have 6 items, and first is request by Anatej Hotel Corporation for a site plan amendment for facade improvements to Country Inn and Suites at 2280 Barrington Road.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. Peter, do you want to explain what we're doing here?
Sure. When the hotel was converted from a La Quinta to the Country Inn and Suites recently, the plans they submitted included a significant change to the facade by, they were going to add a new layer of brick panel, really changing the whole appearance. In the interim period, they painted the building, painted the existing brick, kind of a dark gray color, and did a lot of other remodeling work. They had originally were required to make that facade change based on the corporate Country Inn and Suites standards. And so it was part of our plans too. The owners, because of the cost, had asked to delay that installation until later 2019 in the fall. In the interim, they have gone back to Country Inn and Suites and received approval to keep the building as is and not add the additional layer of brick facade on the building. So they're basically asking to drop that, make that change in the village approved plans too, and not make that installation. It really, from a code standpoint, which basically requires compatibility with other buildings in the area, whether they add that other brick or not, the existing building is brick. It's just a different appearance. I don't think it's really any lesser than one or the other, so we really don't see a problem with the change that they're proposing.
How much does that save them in money, do you know?
I do not know the cost.
The petitioner is here.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't you step up forward, and you can give us your name and address, please?
My name is Wendy Coles.
Why don't you turn the mic towards you?
There we go.
And now we have to get it out. Whoa.
Hang on, hang on.
Sounds like it's on now.
Okay. Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Wendy Cozy. I'm the general manager of the Country Inn and Suites, and was about $380,000 to do that brick facade. So we had painted it, and originally they had thought that was going to be a requirement if you build a new Country Inn. Since we took over the Country Inn and had painted it in corporate and submitted the photos and had them come out and check it, they did approve a waiver for us not to have to do that.
Great. Thank you very much for answering that question. Anybody else that has any questions here? Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right,
Much.
you're welcome. That will go to the board next week, though, as you know.
Okay.
Okay. 2 is a request approval of a resolution authorizing the Village of Hoffman Estates to support Next Level Northwest's application to receive grant funding from the J.P. Morgan Chase Advancing Cities Program.
So moved.
I'll second.
Kevin, do you want to explain what we're doing on this one?
Yeah, so the organization has hired an outside consultant to help solicit funds through fundraising and grant efforts. Since it's quite a deep pool to dive into, none of the municipalities necessarily had that experience, so the organization hired somebody to do this as part. They've found a $300,000 grant through J.P. Morgan Chase that they feel that the goals of Next Level Northwest are meeting 2 to 3 of the 4 major goals of this grant that the organization would be applying for. As part of that, though, J.P. Morgan Chase wants to know that all 5 communities are supporting this grant, and so that's why this resolution is before you guys.
How many communities have already approved this?
I'm told that it's 2 for sure, and I think the other ones were end of last week and this week, and so just right in the same timeline as us here.
Okay. Do you expect them all to be approved?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Mayor.
This organization hasn't exactly started a prairie fire. I don't really want to put any more money into it. I think we can get grant money, that's fine, but though this would be in place of the municipalities subsidizing this.
Mr. Norris?
It would not, Mayor. The board agreed to a 3-year intergovernmental agreement of $15,000 a year. Our last payment will be due sometime in 19. Getting this money will offset will help the goal of getting private sector money engaged and involved in it, which will actually help with more marketing and efforts for the organization. At least that's the hope. We share your observation that it hasn't actually leapt off the ground the way they originally anticipated that it would. In fact, we had to cancel our first
Postpone.
attempt. Pardon me?
Postpone, not cancel.
Oh, okay, Kevin.
The
We'll use
optimist
your
over here.
word. But Kevin's out beating the bushes to try to see if we can find a small business that would be able to go through it here in Hoffman Estates. But at this point, we do have an obligation, fortunately or unfortunately, as the case may be.
Well, as it brought out, this is not our money anyway. It's a
No, sir.
grant.
Right.
So,
Right.
anybody else with any other questions? Yes, Trustee Palafis.
Kevin, it's a $500 million program. Do they know why they're only going to get 300,000 or? Because there's 30 cities that can qualify, right?
Is it?
It doesn't, the division doesn't map out unless they're just given seed money for something.
Yeah, I haven't
I was just curious if you knew.
dove into that quite too much.
Okay.
But I can look into it and find out.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Why it wasn't a bigger number. Maybe it's subsequent, that it adds on. I think it's good. It's free money.
Sure.
Then
Anyone
get it.
else? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Number 3, request approval of amendments to Chapter 11 of the Municipal Code regarding building permit fees, performance deposits, occupancy permits, and elevator size requirements.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Who wants to take this one?
I will summarize this. Basically, what we're looking at is the Chapter 11, which includes all our building requirements, including fees. Quickly, performance deposits are something we want to look at to extend to some permit work for site work. The code currently has some language for deposits, but it doesn't completely cover all parking lots and work in public right-of-way, things like that. So that's part of this amendment. The occupancy permit aspect of this request is really mostly just changing the structure of how it's tagged in the code rather than having the code requirements in a table that has fees. We're looking to integrate those into the actual code section that talks about occupancy. And the elevator size requirements is really something the board had decided many years ago, and for some reason in some past period, it looks like maybe 10 years ago, it was inadvertently left out of an update. So we're really bringing that back to meet the standards that the fire department is looking for, which is being able to require that a stretcher fits. And if you have an elevator, it has to accommodate a stretcher at any floor level of the building. And the standard building code limits that to buildings that are 4 stories or higher. We really want to extend that to any level. Those are relatively minor changes, and then obviously the comprehensive one is the update to the building permit fees. Staff has looked at this over the years. Regularly, we try to monitor these fees as well as others. I know a couple years ago we updated development fees similar to this. Looking back, we've found that our code now actually has quite a few fees that are extremely outdated and very low compared to most other communities. We did some research back and found that we've done fee updates, but they've really been targeted for individual items over the years. And really, the last increase to some of the categories was 2001, with a vast majority of them not changing, going back as far as 96 and 91. So we're approaching almost 30 years with a lot of our fees being completely unchanged. As these are user fees that are being used by they're a user fee that someone is asking for a service, it's somewhat important that they stay updated so that other members of the community are not kind of subsidizing these user fees, and that the users are actually the ones paying most of this. We don't come anywhere close to covering our operational costs on most building permits for residential properties. So it's obviously important that we kind of keep pace. We had looked seriously at doing an amendment in the 2007, 2008 window, and obviously with the onset of the recession, that really kind of gave us pause to stop and look at what was going on in the economy, and really decided that was not the best time to be introducing new increases. So we delayed at that time. Since then, the recession has ended, and building activity has really come back in the last few years fairly strong, and we're now just trying to catch up to that. And it's now been almost 10 years since we even looked at the fees. So we're going on a period of, as I mentioned in here, I think 17 years since we did our last update, and many of those going back close to 30. So we've outlined what all those increases are. A big emphasis that we looked at were other communities in the area, and that's part of how we see that most communities, if not all, have increased their fees, and we haven't. So our levels of our recommended fees in this ordinance are basically in the middle of the pack, and where practical are on the lower side as compared to other communities. So that's kind of the philosophy that was gone in, which is similar to what we did with development fees, and I know some other fees that and charges that the village assesses. So I'll kind of leave it at that with philosophy. If there's questions about specific categories or fees, we will do our best to answer.
I've noticed that the air conditioning and furnace fee is $50 flat. If you get both, it's $100. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes. Yeah, so it's per unit.
And the same goes for water heater and fence, the $50 flat fee. What are our current fees now in relation to what we're going to be increasing them to?
Yes, so those items, let me find them real quick here. Fences are actually they're not a flat fee, they're based on the linear feet, which is a calculation requirement that for a typical single-family lot, it really doesn't make sense to do it that way, and we thought a fence would actually, or a flat fee would actually be more appropriate. So those are $35 for the first 100 feet, and then $3 per 100 feet after that. So depending on the size of your lot, you could have a $50 fence permit. It would just depend on how big your property was. This kind of balances it out, and the other ones you referenced, air conditioning, and we've also, I should have said, we've also completely reformatted the fee schedule, so the structure is different from the old. Heating, so we were at $45, I believe, for, Ray, help me out, air conditioning and...
Furnace and air conditioner used to be $30.
They used to be $30 each.
Both, it was $60.
Okay, so it used to be $30 a piece. So those are increased to $50.
And the water heater?
What?
Water heater, also $30. So they're all in the same category.
Okay. Trustee Mills?
Truthfully, I would have appreciated if you would have given us a red line copy, which would have showed, compared. I have no idea
Right.
what is in this ordinance that's been amended, what's been added, what's been changed. Normally, we do get it that way, and I would have much rather had that, to be able to see what, compare apples to apples with this. If it's a whole brand-new section, that's just to be noted, but I really would have appreciated that.
Sure.
When do you expect these fees to be going into effect?
Well, typically, when the board adopts something, that ordinance goes effect immediately, unless you were to structure that differently. We didn't propose a start date. I guess we just kind of went with our normal flow, which is upon ordinance adoption. If you wanted to set a date specific, I think that's something.
Well, is there a chance we
could
can
do.
get a red line version of this?
Sure, if
Before it's
I mean,
approved?
There's not urgency,
Okay.
to be honest. One of the things we wanted to make sure we did is we had new fees in before any major development like Somerset comes along.
I understand that.
So if you want to defer this at the committee level until the next meeting or a special meeting, we could do that. Or if you're
We're
just happy
comfortable with
to,
actually seeing what we're talking about.
or if you want, we can provide the red line as part of the board packet. But that might cause a discussion at the board meeting that would be better at a committee.
I
So
understand.
it's really up to the committee.
Well,
I will say that part of it, in looking at myself with the staff, because we're changing in some cases even how the permit's calculated to be more uniform with other communities. And right now, as Peter said, it's a hodgepodge. Every community
understand.
has different formulas and different ways of doing it. There are significant sections that are completely reworded that are going to be hard to track old code to new code. But we can certainly provide it.
well, you can at least let us know what's the new, what's brand
Absolutely, I
new.
agree completely.
What you're eliminating and what you're putting in.
Agreed, completely. So
I-
if you want
yeah.
to defer this,
Well, would others feel more comfortable if we did a special prior to the board meeting next week? Or we do have a lot of stuff going on next.
For me,
Pardon?
that would work.
I agree.
I'll agree with that.
Then I'll make a motion that this be deferred to a special PB and Z next Monday evening.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. It's deferred till next week. Trustee Newell, you had a question?
Yeah, I just have one question when comes to this elevator part here. It says new or altered, and then it says 200 per car for the first 4 floors. But then when when you read this part about the elevator car underneath the building code, I don't know, I get confused. So if you have an older elevator, and if it doesn't fit, what? A stretcher, gurney, or whatever, then what? They're gonna get fined? What do they do? I don't understand the way it's worded. I just don't get it.
well, if it exists today, it's grandfathered in. It's when if they would remodel the building or build anything built new would have that requirement.
Okay.
So anytime the code changes, it's very rare for us to make code changes retroactive. The only one, and it really wasn't retroactive, the fire sprinkler ordinance
Right.
was prospective because the board gave time for people to do it and to come into compliance. But typically, it's like our own homes. Most of our homes are
Okay.
X number of years old. They don't meet current codes completely, but they're fine from a code standpoint because they're grandfathered in. That's the same thing here.
Okay, but
But
then,
with the new change, it requires a stretcher-sized elevator on all floors. That's all for all new construction.
okay. So with the old one, it doesn't matter if it's 1 floor or 2 floors, but anything above 4 floors.
Exactly.
Right,
That's
and
exactly
this
correct.
used to actually be in our code years ago, so there are buildings that actually complied. There's not a lot of buildings that don't comply, I guess what I'm trying to say. And it's not something that can very easily be retrofitted, because you're talking about the entire,
Elevator
not
Right.
just the
shaft.
car, but the entire
Right,
shaft.
I'm sorry I even brought that up, but it was just
No,
when you
it's-
read it
Oh, no,
for
you're
the
right.
first time, you know, and you're
Yeah.
looking at it and you're thinking, wow, there are older buildings with elevators, so what do they do? You know?
Yeah,
just-
that would not be
Yeah,
at all
that would, yeah,
practical.
okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay, let's go to number 4. Request direction for the Planning and Zoning Commission to hold a public hearing to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding signs, permitted and special uses, accessory structure regulations, and other miscellaneous items.
So moved.
Second.
What's the direction you want?
The board has always required that before the staff went to the Planning and Zoning Commission with a text amendment, that we come here first to get direction to actually do that. So we're taking this step because it's always been a requirement. So what planning and the development services staff would do was do this drafting of issues that have arisen over time and take those potential revisions to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing and their review and recommendation to the village board, and then it would come back to the village board.
So basically, you want our blessing.
Well, we want your blessing to go through a process. We're not asking
Right.
your blessing on the language.
No, I understand.
That's at a later date.
Right.
we'll have to invest quite a bit of time, especially being a comprehensive text amendment. So before we do that, we want to make sure, going down the road, I tried to highlight the things that we were intending to look into. One benefit is if there's any input or thoughts, or anyone up here has suggestions, but also, as you said, to have your blessing that we continue to invest time and actually go through that process.
Trustee Palafis.
It's been quite a few years since we've done the sign code, hasn't it?
Yeah, and again, we're not looking at a complete revision of any of these. It's
Yeah.
really technical changes to address issues that have probably arisen over, Peter, the last 6 to 8 years.
At least. And actually the sign code, we may end up, we made the change with the master sign plan about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say it was
the comp-
2008 or 9.
Right, on the
you know,
heels
if I
of the
remember.
comp plan, basically.
Because we had a sign code committee. That's the only reason I remember.
And that was all we really changed, was and what that's done is diverted a lot of things into an alternate process and kind of left our old code alone.
So
What we'd
you-
like to do is bring some of that stuff we've learned over 10 years of master sign plans and hopefully develop the better way of doing things, kind of bring that into the code itself.
So updates for digital and some things that are
Yeah,
progressed.
great example. We digital signs are prohibited, and we've got except,
Master sign
a
plan.
dozen other exceptions.
Right.
So really to bring it
Right,
back and
yeah.
accept the fact that there may be times they're okay and write a code that actually is,
Right.
responsive to that.
Okay. I'm good, thanks.
Anyone else? Any questions? Okay. I guess all those in favor of directing our people to send this to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right. 5, request authorization to award a contract for elevator inspection and plan review services to Thompson Elevator Inspection Service Incorporated of Mount Prospect, Illinois.
So moved.
I'll second.
Gentlemen, who wants to take that one?
I'll take that one.
Okay.
The village is typically awarded a 3 or 5 year contract to elevator inspection service companies, and it's sort of a specialized field, and it's something that the village and others have employed for decades. Typically, it's not done in-house. Our current contract with EIS is nearing the end of its term, so a request for proposals was issued in September, and 3 proposals were received. Staff evaluated the proposals and is recommending Thompson Elevator Services Incorporated. Thompson has the overall lowest rates for inspections and tests, and staff believes they'll provide a superior level of communication with both staff and also with property owners in the village.
We can't split this up, huh? We can't have one do the inspections and the other one to do the testing?
Yeah, I saw that.
I do think that is sort of how it works too. Some will look at that and that might be how one company gets in the door, is with the inspection rates, and then the witnessing tests are separate.
Yeah, I mean, the inspection rates for Thompson are really higher than the other two, and however, you're right, the witnessing tests are far lower by Thompson. And I assume those are the more expensive tests in the first place, so that's why we're going with them?
They are. Overall, it will be, the best rate is with Thompson overall when everything's combined.
One of the things that we're concerned about is the service that we're actually getting, and that's something that we've learned. Thompson served the village for many years and had the contract, and actually they did very, very well. But we did do an RFP several years ago, and we got that pricing from EIS that was much more competitive, so the decision was made to change. We have found that was maybe not always, the price wasn't everything, and the reporting, the follow-up, the service that the building owners were getting, the service that our staff was getting in accuracy and really being diligent and following up with failed inspections, things like that. While we were saving money on the contract, the service really had gone down. So part of what we were looking for here was really a blending of service that we know we could count on versus price, and really weighing that. So Thompson and EIS were fairly competitive. Just a note of citywide, there's probably, I don't know, in the state, there's 70 contracts that the state has with municipalities. Thompson and EIS have, I would guess, 98% of those contracts between the two of them. Citywide has three communities, 4 communities. Really kind of an upstart, no real proven track record. When we see somebody proposing it's going to cost us $0 for a plan review, that's kind of a red flag because they have a somewhat distorted pricing structure that obviously on the back end they're charging businesses for these witness tests that are astronomical compared to the others. You can't provide that kind of service for $0, so we're not real confident that we're going to get the kind of service that we're looking for.
Thank you. Any other questions up here by the board? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And lastly, we have discussion regarding the Illinois Enterprise Zone applications.
Chairman Stanton, what we're looking for in this one is just direction for staff to file the applications.
Okay.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion on this? Everybody want to save Kevin the time? All right.
We made him come up here at least.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. All right, we have 3 reports for information only. Planning Division Monthly Report, the Code Enforcement Division Monthly Report, and the Economic Development and Tourism Monthly Report. Does anybody have any questions regarding any of those 3 reports that we are going to be receiving and filing? Okay, they are received and filed. President's report?
Nothing else, Chairman Stanton.
Thank you. We have nothing in other or items in review, so looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
I'd like to go ahead and call the General Administration and Personnel Committee for the Village of Hoffman Estates for November 12th, 2018. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Arnett,
Present.
Vice Chairman Mills,
Present.
Trustee Stanton,
Present.
Trustee Newell,
Present.
Trustee Palafis,
Present.
Trustee Gata,
Present.
Mayor McLeod.
Present.
We do have a quorum. If I can get approval of the minutes for October 8th, 2018.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Would anybody, corrections, additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We have 3 reports for information only. First one is the Cable TV Monthly Report. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Number 2 is the Human Resources Management Monthly Report. Questions or any? Okay. Number 3 is the Legislative Operations and Outreach Monthly Report. No questions? Okay. We have all 3 reports received and file. Anything in President's report?
Nothing else.
Okay, thank you. I see nothing in other, no items in review. If we can have a motion for an adjournment?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.